Hey everyone, today we're going to be moving into our next lesson in the chapter, which is going to be called graphing ratio tables. Up to this point, we learned about factors and multiples, we've done ratios, we've done ratio tables, and now we're going to learn how to graph them. So hopefully some of this is going to be a refresher and review, and then some of this might be new to you. So let's quickly review some of the key words that go with graphing. So if you were given a coordinate plane that looked like this, there's two different bold lines that kind of cross each other in the center at a perpendicular line. So that means they cross each other like this. Okay, so this first line, this horizontal line, is called the x-axis, and then the vertical line is called the y-axis. So where the x-axis and the y-axis cross is called the origin. So that red dot right there would be called the origin. The origin is always at 0, 0. Okay, so 0 on the x-axis, 0 on the y-axis, and that's where you would start when you are graphing coordinates. So just as a quick refresher, x-axis is horizontal, the yellow line, and y-axis is vertical, which is the blue line. When you are graphing, like I said, you always want to start at the origin. The origin is at 0, 0. So if you're looking here at the numbers around this origin, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you can get to the negative numbers, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it keeps going and going and going. So this dot right here is technically considered 0, 0, and that's where you want to start. Whenever you are given something called a coordinate pair, you need to figure out where to graph it. Coordinate pairs will always be given in x and y format. So you're always going to get the x number first, and then you're going to get the y number. X number will always follow this line, and then y number will follow this line. So if I were given a coordinate like this green dot right here, you always want to start at the origin. So start at 0, 0. And then it's simply counting. So if I wanted to go find out what the coordinate pair is for this green dot, I would start at 0, and I would figure out how many spots I would have to move left or right from the x-axis to figure out what my x would be. So I know I'm moving 1, 2 spots over to get to that green dot. Then from there, I have to figure out where the green dot is on the y-axis. So then I have to go up or down. So in this case, I'm going up, so I go up 1, 2, 3 lines. So if I were to write this coordinate pair, it would be 2, 3. 2 dots over, 3 dots up, and where they meet is where we're going to place the actual point. Let's do another one. If I were given a dot down here in the bottom, this time I'm still starting at the origin, but I'm moving left because I always start with my x first. So I go 1, 2, 3 spots over to the left, and 1, 2, 3, 4 spots down below the x-axis, which we're moving on the y-axis there. So our coordinate pair would be -3, 1, 2, 3, -4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's kind of like latitude and longitude that you did last year, but this is going to be with mapping and graphing here. So real quick, I want you to try. Look at this blue dot right here. I want you to look at that blue dot. I want you to count over to the right first and then count up. And then I want you to tell me the ordered pair for the blue dot. Okay, if you did this correctly, you would start at the origin, like I taught you, and you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots over to the right, which is going to be our x. We're going to put a comma, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3 spots up, which is going to be our y. So I would write the coordinate pair like this, 7, 3. Let's try another one. If you did this one correctly, you're going 1, 2, 3, 4 spots over to the right, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots up, which means the ordered pair for this one is going to be 4, 5. 4 is our x, 5 is our y. All right, just a real recap here. This whole thing right here is called a coordinate plane. We have our x-axis down here, the horizontal line. We have our y-axis vertical. And then we have our origin, which is at 0, 0, 0, 0. And then finally, when we're talking about a certain point, we are going to call that an ordered pair. All right, let's look at the real world example here. And then we've recently been working on rates and ratios. So let's look at this real world link. It says in 3 minutes, a North American wood turtle, which is down here, can travel about 17 yards. If the x-axis represented minutes and y-axis represents yards, write an ordered pair to represent the situation. So then we just have to put it in XY format. So it says the X always goes first, so the X is going to talk about minutes. So I'd put a 3 here, and then the Y is going to talk about yards. So if I were to write this, it would simply be 3, 17. Okay, let's look at some examples with ratio tables. So if I were to look at this example, it says the table shows the cost in dollars to create CDs of digital photos at a photo shop. The table also shows this information as ordered pairs. So you see our columns here. We have the number of CDs, which is our X. the cost in dollars, which is our y, and then this is the ordered pair that it's formed. So just taking our x and our y and putting parentheses around it. So then if I were to look at this, I see that my ordered pairs are 1, 3, 2, 6, 3, 9. So if I were to graph those, I would put them over here. So you can see the blue dots are the ordered pairs that have been graphed. So for the first one, if I were to buy one CD, I would go over one spot here. And if I were to figure out the cost, I would go up 1, 2, 3, which is $3. Then I have over 2, up 6, over 3, up 9. And this is just based on our table here. Always start with your x and then find your y and then figure out where they cross. And then if you look here, we can actually kind of interpret this as a little pattern here. So as the points appear in a line. So if I were to connect these together, it actually forms a line. Each point is 1 unit to the right and 3 units up from the previous point. So the cost actually increases by $3 for every CD. So you can see the price increase every single time we move on to buying more CDs. Let's do one more example. Two friends are making scrapbooks. Renee places 4 photos on each page of her scrapbook. Gina places 6 photos on each page of her scrapbook. So over here we see Renee's scrapbook, and over here we see Gina's scrapbook. It says make a table for each scrapbook that shows the total number of photos placed, and then we would see how many photos there are for each of the pages. So here would be the graph of both of those. So if you look at Gina's scrapbook, which is the red, which is going to be using this table, we see that it goes over 1 and then up 6, over 2, up 12. And if you notice here on the y-axis, they actually skip count by 3s. So they're not always going to be skip counting by 1s, but sometimes they do. And then if I look over at Renee's scrapbook, which is the blue, I see that I'm going over 1 and then going up 4. I'm going over 2 and then I'm going up 8. And you can see that they both form straight lines, but you can see that Gina's line is a lot steeper. That's because Gina has more photos on her pages. So every single time one of Gina's pages gets to a new page, she's going to actually have more photos than Renee every time. So her line is going to be a lot steeper than Renee's. And you can easily see here that Gina is producing more photos on her scrapbook. There's our lines. You can see that they go straight, and you can see Gina's being a lot more steep. All right, now I want you to try a few. So if I were to give you a table here, it says the table shows Gloria's earnings for 1, 2, and 3 hours. Here's our table. We have 1, 5, 2, 10, 3, and 15. And here's our ordered pairs, 1, 5, 2, 10, 3, and 15. So I graphed them over here, and I want you to determine if this is correct. So if I were to go over 1, 5, I would go over 1, up 5, boom, there's my red point. And then if I were to look at 2, 10, I would go over 2 and then up 10, which is our green dot. And then finally, if I'm going over 3 and then up 15, boom, that's our blue dot, because I know 15 is exactly between 14 and 16. Okay, for the next 3 questions you're going to get, I want you to use this graph right here. All right, hope you got those questions correct. If not, make sure you email me for some extra help. All right, the last question I'm going to give you today. Which coordinate plane is correct based on the ratio table that I'm providing you? So here's our ratio table. This is miles biked in how many days? So in 1 day, I biked 2 miles. In 2 days, I biked 4 miles. In 3 days, I biked 6 miles. And then boom, over here, I put them as ordered pairs. 1, 2, 2, 4, 3, 6. Based on what you've learned today in our Edpuzzle about coordinate planes and about graphing ratios, which of these is correct? Is graph A correct over here? Or is graph B correct over here? So right now I want you to answer. Is graph A the correct graph, or is graph B the correct graph based on our ratio table up here? All right, guys, if you have any questions, let me know. Hope this was easy for you to follow, and we'll practice again more tomorrow. Have a great day.